In today's video, I want to talk a little bit about dairy and whether or not you should be avoiding it, and if you are avoiding it, what you can substitute it with. So let's jump in. First of all, what is dairy? Which products actually consist of dairy? So dairy is often things that contain milk, and it's often cow's milk that we refer to. So things like yogurt, cheese, cream fraiche, milk, and so forth. And then of course any products that contain those made into them, like chocolate. It can be things like butter, and so forth. So dairy is actually quite widely used throughout the world, but it has actually come under some scrutiny, and a lot of people actually say that we shouldn't actually be consuming dairy. It's not made for humans, or if you want to lose weight or improve your health, you should be avoiding dairy. So I thought today I'd talk a little bit about that and whether you should or not. Okay, so first of all, is dairy bad for you? Okay, so there's a lot of controversy when it comes to this. Some people are definitely on the dairy is horrible and we shouldn't be eating it bandwagon, whereas others are, not. So in my opinion, according to the research that I've done, is that dairy is only actually bad for you if you are allergic to it, or if you maybe have an intolerance to lactose, which is the sugar component of dairy. So if, for example, you don't have a milk allergy and you don't experience lactose intolerance, consuming dairy on your diet most probably isn't a problem. However, it's very important to remember that dairy is one of the only food groups that actually have all three of the food groups present in that product. So for example, it has protein, it has carbohydrates, and it has fat, and it actually has quite a high amount of all of those three. So it's almost like a meal in one. And that's where a lot of people, I think, miss the boat a bit, where they think, you know what, I'm just going to have a glass of milk before bed, because you like it, or it soothes you, or whatever the case may be, and you feel, you know what, it's probably not even going to make such a big difference. But unfortunately, it does have an impact, because it is quite packed, especially if you're having full cream with calories, fats, proteins, and carbohydrates. So that is definitely a good thing in itself as well, because it is such a complete product. It's quite nice to incorporate it into your diet if you are mainly focusing on improving your calorie intake, or if you want to improve your protein intake. But if you are following a strict diet plan and you're having multiple cappuccinos per day, and you maybe drink a glass of milk at night, and you consume quite a lot of cheese and yogurt, you might be getting in quite a big amount of carbohydrates, proteins, and fats without actually counting for it. So that is where some of, the individuals that I see often will benefit from cutting down on dairy, not necessarily avoiding it completely, but cutting down a little bit on it. So instead of having a cappuccino, rather go for an Americano, where you can add the amount of milk will be appropriate, that it won't be like half the cup milk and the other half coffee, but rather like majority coffee and just a little splash of milk, just to at least account for all the calories that you're going to consume in that milk. And then of course, I've seen a lot of clients also where they come home from work, they're just a little bit nibblish, and then what they do is they go to the fridge and get a slice of cheese with maybe a salty crack, or even just cheese, and they cut a few slices of cheese, eat it without even thinking about it, and carry on with life and eat their main meal and so forth, and then still struggle to lose weight. And that's why, because cheese is packed with fat and protein and calories, which then of course we know if we want to lose weight, we need to be in a calorie deficit. Okay, so that's where dairy might be a bit of a problem. The other place where dairy might be a problem, as I've mentioned, is if you are allergic to cow's milk, then of course please don't consume it, because it's definitely not going to be helpful for your health, or a lactose intolerance. So lactose is the sugar component of milk, and surprisingly, the statistics are 75% of people are actually lactose intolerant. So you might even be lactose intolerant, but you don't even know it, because some of the symptoms include just like a little bit of an upset stomach, bloating, gas, and so forth. And often, if you consume cheese and yogurt and only a small amount of milk, you're not really getting in a lot of lactose, so you might not even notice that you have lactose intolerance. Whereas other people that drink a glass of milk do know that they have lactose intolerance. So if you want to taste it, it's quite easy. You can just, maybe in an afternoon when you're not doing anything else and you can concentrate on your symptoms, drink like a proper glass of milk, like 300 mils of milk, and then see what happens to your symptoms, if you have any gastrointestinal symptoms, 4 hours after you've consumed that milk. If you do have some bloating and maybe an upset stomach or anything like that, you might actually have a lactose intolerance. So an easy swap for that is definitely going for lower lactose food. So in other words, your cheese, yogurt is often also lower in lactose. And then of course, lactose-free milk, like your no-lac or your Easy Jess from Parmalat, or even Woolies has a free from lactose fresh milk. So it's completely the same as normal milk. They've just added the enzyme lactase, which we naturally make in our guts. But let's say you're lactose intolerant, you don't make that lactase enzyme. So they've added it to the milk to just break down the lactose into glucose and galactose already. So then you don't need to do that, and then it doesn't cause that upset stomach. All right, so let's say, for example, you do want to cut down on your dairy, or you're allergic to dairy. What do you substitute it with? So this is where it gets quite interesting. So nowadays you can get milk from anything, a seed, a plant, a nut, and the list goes on. And people have become really very creative with the milks that you can get nowadays. You can get almond milk, you can get any type of nut milk nowadays, and the list goes on. So you can definitely substitute your normal cow's milk with soya milk, or with an almond milk, for example, if you're having it in your coffee. Or better yet, just go for black coffee or black tea without any milk added to it. But then just be mindful of the brands that you use, that it's not added, that they haven't added sweeteners to it or any sugar form of it. So it should be an unsweetened brand, or you can make it yourself, especially like the nut milks are quite easy to make at home. Then you know what you add to it, because unfortunately you pay quite a lot of money for these nut milks, and then they only have like 2% of almonds in them, so you do spend a lot of money on them. However, the commercially found nut milks often have some extra vitamins and minerals enriched into them and fortified into them, because of the fact that you might be missing out because you're not consuming dairy. So you can definitely substitute your milk with an almond or plant-based milk, your whey protein shake with a plant-based protein like pea protein or rice protein that you can find in health stores, or even Biogen makes a plant protein now. Your cheese, you can nowadays find vegan cheese. Yogurt, you can do coconut or soya yogurt. So there's quite a few things you can swap your dairy products with. However, like I've mentioned before, it's only necessary if you do feel like you have an intolerance or maybe an allergy to milk, or maybe if you just want to cut down a little bit on it because you think that it might be the reason why you're not achieving your weight loss goals, because you're getting those extra calories from milk that you're not accounting for. I hope this has been helpful. You'll also see there's quite a nice list of dairy-free alternatives on our alternatives list on the eating plan, so make sure to consult that as well. But let us know if you have any questions, and I hope you have a great day.